Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review in Series 7B. That's right, we're back with some more Clara Oswald, and it's time for her first trip off-world, as the Doctor decides to take her to the rings of Akahten, a place that he explains that once upon a time he went to with his granddaughter. Now, throughout the course of this story, we have multiple flashbacks to Clara's timeline. Not only to watch the Doctor essentially stalk Clara, but also to understand why he did it. He didn't just do it to make sure that she's not the girl that he met before, but he did it to essentially learn her history. Learn exactly what caused Clara Oswald to be so brilliant. You see, once upon a time, there was a guy and there was a girl. And this guy was walking down the street when all of a sudden a leaf fell into his face. And he almost got hit by a car, but when this amazing woman ran across, saved his life, and essentially ever since then the pair went out, met up, had a child who was Clara Oswald. Clara accidentally kicks the Doctor in the face with a football, and the Doctor begins to get all embarrassed and begins to worry that he'll die of embarrassment, to which Clara's mum essentially has this beautiful joke about, I don't think anyone's died of embarrassment before. We then get to the darker side, however, of Clara's timeline and learn that Clara grieved over the loss of her mum, and it really, really hit her and her dad hard. But luckily for her, her dad was always there, and she managed to fill in for the family that she now works for. We'll get into them another episode because they're a little bit more relevant later down the line. So back to the Rings of Akahten. Essentially, Clara and the Doctor walk through a vast market, to which the Doctor has to explain to Clara that on this asteroid, people don't trade with money and currency. Their own currency is gifts, things of sentimental value. Now, of course, to the untrained eye, this may seem horrible, but there is a significance and a respect behind this currency due to the fact that anything that is your rings, anything with personal value, it will always be treated with care from those you trade with. Now, Clara comes across a dog-like being that the Doctor explained is Doris, who's a right cutie, and essentially all they're asking is if she wants to trade her ring for a moped. Now, Clara disagrees for now and then goes off to go and watch a show. When the Doctor and Clara sit down to watch a show about the old god, they learn that Mary Carlell is preparing to sing to the old god, but Mary gets really scared before the ceremony, and essentially Clara manages to track her down before the song. She then manages to rekindle with her group and begins to sing the song. But all of a sudden something mad happens where Mary is then hoisted up by the old god, taken to the temple as a sacrifice. The Doctor and Clara chase after her, and the Doctor points out to Clara that they don't run away. Clara then finds herself having to flee the temple after the Doctor and her try to save and rescue Mary. Mary manages to go back to her singing post whilst Clara chases after the Doctor with a book about memories. Now, the Doctor begins to tell the old god a story of a traveller, the last of the Time Lords, the guy who had watched creation freeze and asteroids burn, seen things that the old god couldn't believe, lost things that the old god could never understand. However, even though the old god should be defeated, Clara has to use one last move, the most important leaf in history. Why? Because it grew in a specific place, it fell into her dad's face, and it is one of the main reasons that Clara Oswald even exists in the first place. The old god then dies, and Clara and the Doctor go back to the TARDIS, leaving Mary Killel to essentially live her life out without having to worry about being sacrificed to a vampire. The Doctor and Clara then at the end of the story begin to discuss about the book, and Clara essentially finds herself in this position that before she gets back to the TARDIS, Doris gives her back her ring, all as a thanks for Clara helping everyone be saved from the old god. Back to what I was saying about the TARDIS, however, the Doctor and Clara begin to ask about her history, and the Doctor points out that he was always there. He was watching over her, not as in a way to be nasty, but in a way to actually kind of understand Clara more. He wants to understand that she's not the girl that he once knew, and that her life is completely different to the way he's been told in the past. The solid facts with this really helps solidify where Clara is going and who she is now. And for that reason, I give this a solid 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next Doctor Who review. Until then, goodbye, stay beautiful, you beautiful people.